Have you ever been 100% sure of something? Like absolutely certain your crush doesn't like you back, your boss will never give you that raise, or that you'll definitely lose money at an all-you-can-eat buffet? Well, in the 1960s, the US government had that same level of confidence, but on a whole other cosmic level. They were confident that no one, not a single living soul, could escape from Alcatraz prison. The place was nicknamed The Rock, not because it was hard, but because it was the graveyard of every inmate's hope. It sits isolated in the middle of San Francisco Bay, surrounded by ice-cold water, with currents as ruthless as a looming deadline, and it was rumored to have sharks circling like Ubers during surge pricing. Sending a criminal to Alcatraz was like dragging a useless file to your computer's recycle bin and then hitting empty recycle bin. Gone. Never to be seen again. And yet history loves a good slap in the face of certainty. And in 1962, 3 inmates gave the US government a slap that not only stung, but left a giant question mark that has lasted for over half a century. They did the impossible. They escaped from Alcatraz. And what did they use to do it? Toilet paper, human hair, a few spoons, and about 50 raincoats. It sounds like a demonic episode of a DIY show. Welcome back to the channel, and today we're going to break down this legendary breakout, a story of God-tier IQ, masterful patience, and the ultimate art of DIY. First, let's meet our main cast. The leader was Frank Morris, a guy with an IQ of 133, placing him in the top 2% of the world's most intelligent people. Unfortunately, he didn't use that brain to invent a cure for cancer, but instead dedicated it to figuring out how to get out of the world's most sophisticated iron cages. Frank was the kind of guy who, if stranded on a desert island, wouldn't wait for rescue. He'd build himself a yacht out of coconut leaves and sail back to the mainland to start a survival skills workshop. Partnering with Frank were the Anglin brothers, John and Clarence. If Frank was the brains, the Anglins were the brawn. They didn't have off-the-charts IQs, but they were hands-on, country-raised guys who were used to fixing everything themselves and had more than enough grit. The 3 of them, along with a 4th accomplice named Alan West, formed a prison-yard version of the Avengers, determined to make the impossible possible. So, what was their plan? It was unbelievably sophisticated. Alcatraz was built to withstand violence and brute force. Thick walls, steel doors, guards on constant patrol. But its genius architects overlooked one fatal weakness: the corrosive tag team of time and salt water. The damp, salty air of the bay had slowly eaten away at the concrete around the ventilation grills in the inmate cells. It had softened up, much like your willpower on a Monday morning. And our squad noticed this. The plan began. Phase 1. Digging through the walls. Their weapons? Spoons stolen from the mess hall, a broken vacuum cleaner motor modified into a homemade drill, and nail files. Yes, you heard that right, nail files. While the guards thought the inmates were just keeping up with their personal grooming, they were actually carrying out a subterranean project for the ages. To cover the noise, Frank Morris, an accordion player, would play his accordion during the designated music hour each evening. His cheerful tunes became the perfect soundtrack for their methodical chipping and scraping. It was the symphony of freedom, performed with patience and a few spoons. But what do you do after you've dug a hole? You can't just leave a gaping chasm in your wall and hope the guards are too nearsighted to notice. This is where the artistry came in. They created fake walls out of cardboard, painting them to perfectly match the real wall to cover the hole after each work shift. But the peak of their deception was phase 2, creating the decoys. You can't escape if the night guard on his rounds discovers your bed is empty. The solution? Make fake heads. It sounds like something from a horror movie, but it was a true masterpiece of installation art. They used a homemade papier-mâché mix of toilet paper, soap, and dust to sculpt life-sized heads with noses, mouths, and even ears. And for the piece to resist, to make them truly real, they collected actual human hair from the prison barbershop. Bit by bit, day by day,
They attached the hair to their papier-mâché heads, creating eerily realistic hairdos. Imagine being a guard, doing your rounds in the dead of night, shining your flashlight into a cell and seeing a head with real hair sleeping soundly on a pillow. What would you think? Wow, this inmate is sleeping so peacefully tonight. The guard's confidence was literally outsmarted by fallen hair. And with the tunnel complete and the decoys ready, they needed a way to cross the bay. Phase 3. Building the yacht. They spent months stealing and stitching together over 50 prisoner-issued raincoats. They used homemade rubber cement and vulcanized the seams using the heat from the prison's utility pipes, creating a massive inflatable raft and 2 life saves. A raft made of raincoats. Compared to this, Robinson Crusoe's raft looked like a luxury yacht. And then the fateful night of June 11th, 1962 arrived. Everything was in place. The dummy heads were nestled on their pillows, blankets pulled up to their chins. The 3 of them, Alan West, the 4th conspirator, got stuck because his vent opening wasn't wide enough, a textbook example of procrastination and its bitter consequences. Slipped through their holes, climbed into the utility corridor, scaled the roof, and vanished into the inky black night of the San Francisco Bay with their raincoat raft. The next morning, chaos erupted. When a guard came to wake the prisoners, one of the heads rolled off the pillow and onto the floor. I only wish I could have been there to see his face. It was surely the greatest WTF moment in the history of corrections. The alarm blared. The FBI was called in. One of the largest manhunts in American history was launched. They scoured the bay and the surrounding islands. They found a few fragments of the raft and a wallet containing the Anglin's personal information, but absolutely no bodies. The FBI, with their confidence severely bruised, declared that the 3 men had undoubtedly drowned. The water was too cold, the currents too strong, they couldn't have survived. The case was officially closed in 1979 with the conclusion, missing, presumed dead. But did the story really end there? Not even close. This is where it became a legend. Their bodies were never found, even though the San Francisco Bay usually gives back what it takes. Years later, the Anglin family reportedly received anonymous postcards, and a childhood friend of theirs claimed to have met them in Brazil. The climax came in 2013, when a handwritten letter was sent to the FBI. It began, "My name is John Anglin. I escaped from Alcatraz in June 1962. I am 83 years old and in bad shape. I have cancer." The writer offered to turn himself in to receive medical treatment in exchange for 1 year of freedom. The FBI conducted DNA and handwriting analysis, but the results were inconclusive. And then a photo surfaced, allegedly showing the Anglin brothers at a farm in Brazil in 1975, older but still recognizable. Was the photo real? Was the letter a cruel prank or a late confession? To this day, no one knows for sure if Frank Morris and the Anglin brothers died in the freezing water or successfully reached the shores of freedom, living out new lives under new names. Did they succeed in defeating a system, or were they just victims of their own hubris? Perhaps whether they lived or died no longer matters. What matters is the story they left behind, a story that proves no wall is truly impenetrable and no system is absolutely perfect. It reminds us that intelligence, persistence, and a burning desire for freedom can create miracles from the most mundane of materials, like a spoon, some toilet paper, and a few raincoats. So in the end, did they fail to survive? Or did they succeed so brilliantly that the whole world is still looking for them more than 60 years later? Perhaps that is the greatest escape of all.